And on page 12 of the workbook, we're going to talk about the first 2 levels of systematic visibility. Okay, the first 2 levels of systematic visibility. So what I'd like for you to do, if you have questions, please unmute or type a question in. Systematic visibility is a 10-level system where we're just starting with the first 2 for today. Okay, and when we're putting the pieces together, when we're putting together the terms and concepts along with the tools and systems, we're focusing on you and one bragging buddy, and that's going to be our focus today. Today we're going to take the work that you did on the 10 key question worksheet, the I'm relevant worksheet, the 2 exercises that we've done. We're going to combine those so that you're positioned to train your bragging buddy. Now that we've got you bulletproof and ready to train your bragging buddy, we're going to show you the agendas for the first and second meeting with your bragging buddy, and most importantly, we're going to show you how to start creating referrals for each other. So the bragging buddy goal is to begin to proactively create referrals with the first 2 levels of systematic visibility. So let me stand on the soapbox for a minute and talk about the first word here, proactively. Okay, proactively create referrals. That's what systematic visibility is all about. Now, there's nothing wrong with having someone walk up to you and say, do you know a good business coach? Do you know a good real estate agent? Ask you that question and you convert that into a referral. That's great. The key, though, is that we don't want you to rely on being reactive. It's all about being proactive. So for today, we're going to talk about how you can be proactive for your bragging buddy and they can reciprocate, and now you start generating referrals right away. Okay? So the first 2 levels of systematic visibility that you see there on page 12 are transactional and situational. Transactional is tied into your business transactions. Every time you do a transaction, you should be engaging in level 1 of systematic visibility. Level 2 is situational. This is more of your daily routine as you're going about doing what you do, recognizing opportunity that's money on the table. So these are the first 2 levels of systematic visibility. Now, level number 1, transactional, introduces one of my very best friends, the business card organizer. Okay, many of you have a business card. In fact, all of you, don't you? It's part of your membership kit when you join BNI. Now, the business card organizer is included in your membership kit for a reason. It's absolutely positively the most powerful networking tool you have to convert opportunity into closed business for your networking partners. That's why it's included in your material. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to use the business card organizer to create those referrals every day of the week. Now, unfortunately, because it's so simple, because it's such a basic tool, the business card organizer is underutilized. It's underutilized. What we want you to do is make this your number 1 tool, and that's why we start with the business card organizer. So we call it transactional because it should be used every time you do a transaction. Now, how do you use it? The thing is, we have different industry groups in our BNI chapter. So for example, as I've said, my background is real estate, which is a long buying cycle. It can take months from the time you start working with a client to the time the transaction's finished. During that lengthy buying cycle, there will be multiple opportunities that are appropriate. Okay, so we want to make sure that we understand that there will be an appropriate time or multiple times to use the business card organizer based on the length of the buying cycle. So in the real estate scenario, if we're looking at property, the first time that it might come out is before we even start looking at the property, so that we can give a referral to our mortgage person to pre-qualify the prospect. That might be the first place we go. We start looking at property, might need some work. We take out the business card organizer, maybe give a referral to the home inspector or the general contractor, start getting some estimates here. Okay, you get the idea. So as we go through writing the offer, doing the inspections, all of the closing process, there's going to be different times when it's appropriate to take out that business card organizer and give a compelling testimonial. How about the other side of the spectrum? Okay, how about a florist, for example? In a florist shop, typically, you're going to have some clients that walk in, buy a bouquet of flowers, and walk up to the counter, ring up the transaction, and they're gone. Very, very quick buying cycle, potentially. How does it work in that case? Well, I like the florist example for a few reasons. First is that the owner of the flower shop or the manager might be the BNI member, but you might have somebody working the counter who's not in BNI, okay? Now this can be all different types of businesses, right? I'm just talking about the florist as an example. So what we want to do on that retail level, particularly in a small shop where we have control, is to make the business card organizer available in a variety of ways. We want to train who's ever working the cash register to utilize this technique. But we can have the business card organizer, we can have a flyer, which I'll show you a little bit later, one of the key situation flyers that we have posted to the website, which can make the network systematically visible. Or, in the case of a florist, how about a business card display, either on the countertop or the wall, where customers will see for themselves the network. It'll be visible to them to create referrals. So the idea is that it's going to be used systematically. Now what we want to do is to combine the business card organizer with a compelling testimonial. So I'm just going to give you a quick outline on some of the verbiage that you might use. Goes something like this. I'd like to tell you about my power team. These are people who I know, like, and trust, and they're great at what they do. My power team partners have a variety of products and service that might be of interest to you. So take a look through the card organizer and let me know if I can introduce you to one of my power team partners. Okay? So, very simple technique. Okay, let me give you a couple of value-added ideas to make sure that you're going to be creating good quality referrals for your networking partner. Number one, when you do give out a business card, get the contact information for the prospect and ask permission if your power team partner can contact them. It's not enough just to give the business card and let people go about their merry way. That's going to greatly reduce the conversion ratio of that prospect. If you get their contact information and permission for your networking partner to contact them, now you're creating a very strong referral. Okay? So I'm going to make another basic point. Power Team Certified is not rocket science or brain surgery. A lot of the techniques that we're going to be showing you are simple, just like this transactional visibility. The trick is in implementing these techniques systematically, proactively, regularly. That's going to drive the results. Okay? Let's get into level 2, situational visibility. And if you do have any questions, obviously, I've mentioned this several times, feel free to unmute because I'd love a little conversation, or send a question. Now, if you've already used some of these techniques after just 1 week, let me know, and you've created a referral. Let's talk about it a little bit. That's always good feedback for the rest of the group. Okay? Okay, so here we go. Let's get into level 2, which is situational visibility. Okay, the situational visibility is all about recognizing the 6 key situations and asking trigger questions. Okay, this is beginning of what we call the referral drill down, where we identify an opportunity, which is the 6 key situations, and start asking trigger questions. Okay, so we're going to review real quickly the 6 life cycle events that we're referring to. You can see them there on page 12, beginning with the business builder. Anytime you come in contact with somebody building a business, starting a new business, that's a referral opportunity. People getting healthy, people getting married, having a baby, new family, growing family key situation, relocation, people moving into or out of town, or the real estate key situation, buying, selling, new construction, property management. Okay? All right. So now we're going to get into trigger questions to the point of creating the referrals from these key situations. And you've seen this question before. It's that important. We covered it in our first concept and term section. What's your biggest challenge at the moment? Okay. Very easy. If someone you come in contact with is planning a wedding, well, how's everything going with planning the wedding? What's your biggest challenge with that right now? Okay. Very, very simple, very, very powerful. So what you want to do is identify your number one key situation from the I'm Relevant worksheet that we did last time out, and train your bragging buddy. They're going to have the same key situation as you to start asking the question of what's your biggest challenge with building your business, getting healthy, or whatever it might be. If I can get you to systematically use this technique, you're going to create referrals. So what we want you to do is to begin implementing these techniques immediately to create referrals. Now, we recommend that you pick out one bragging buddy, and we're going to talk next about the first and second meetings. That's going to be the bulk of what we talk about today, is getting together with your bragging buddy. But I really want to beat this point, into the ground so that everybody gets it, is that the only way you're going to generate referrals is to implement the system with activity. And this should be fairly simple. Now, I do want to get some feedback depending on your business category. We have almost 20 people on the line here, and I want to see if anybody has a question or challenge or an idea about using these two levels of systematic visibility. Is this something you can commit to? Is this something that you can do? So feel free to unmute yourself or send me some feedback in the question box, because I want to talk about this and really emphasize the point that this is where the action is. Can you see yourself utilizing these two techniques? Are you comfortable with quantifying? Okay, this is really the key now as we start digging in. Are you comfortable quantifying how often you used your business card organizer to give a compelling testimonial? How often you used situational visibility to recognize opportunity and ask trigger questions? I see that Luann is up for the assignment. How about the rest of you, okay? I want to really see who's participating today. And let me know if you have a challenge. If I'm asking too much of you, let me know now. Let me know now. Let's talk about it. I need to work on these, but definitely see the benefit. Makes sense. A lot of this is already a habit. Good. Now, what we want you to do, if this is a habit for you, as we start looking at picking out your bragging buddy and meeting with them, we want you to help them make it a habit as well. Okay? Very, very important. So let's go ahead now and turn to page 13 in your roadmap workbook as we start getting into lesson plan 3 and building some bragging buddy momentum. So we're on page 13, lesson plan 3, bragging buddy momentum. And our goal here is to help you select your first bragging buddy. Now we're going to get into action. You're going to complete bootcamp meeting number 1, and that's where you're going to do a 10 key question interview exchange. In other words, you and your bragging buddy both have completed the 10 key questions for yourself, and now you're going to interview each other. You're going to make it interactive, and we're going to talk about how that works. We'll introduce the connector to creator worksheet, and then complete boot camp with your second meeting with your bragging buddy. Okay? So those are the goals. We're going to get you through 2 bragging buddy meetings, and we're going to complete the boot camp stage of this process. Webinars that we'll be covering include number 6 and 7 from your DVD set. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and look at page 14 now and kind of go over what we're doing. So selecting a bragging buddy. Now, I'm open to conversation here because of the nature of our group. With the BNI Minnesota group that I'm working with on this webinar, many of you are the only person from your chapter participating, or you may have one or two other people, and that's my understanding. So it would be good for me to know if I could get each of you to just type in, I'm the only one from my chapter, or there are 5 people from my chapter. Go ahead and type that into me so I can start seeing what we've got. Now, it's my goal to get you making money, but you need a bragging buddy to do that. You need a bragging buddy to network with so you can create referrals for them, they can create referrals for you. If you're the only one in your chapter that's utilizing Power Team Certified, what I'd like for you to do is talk to the other people in your group that you feel would be a good bragging buddy, somebody who should be on your Power Team. And if they're already invested in Power Team Certified, then go ahead and start digging into the agendas that we're going to be covering right now. Okay? If they've already paid for Power Team Certified, start right now with them and dig in and let's get rocking and rolling. If they haven't, you can go through your executive director, you can go through Nancy or myself. We can get them started with the materials so they have their own workbook and their DVD set, and then we can kind of plug them into the program. They can catch up on the recorded webinars that I'll be showing you in a moment, and I did, just as a note, get last week's recording posted. I had some technical difficulties, but we can bring people in, and I have some other webinars that I welcome them to kind of jumpstart what they're doing. But today we're going to be looking at selecting your bragging buddy and getting started. Okay, so if there's any questions on that, let me know. I'm just going to quickly review what folks typed in response to my question. Okay, I'm hoping that that makes sense. Talk to people if they're not already involved, and if they are, then let's get going. So we want to start with people who have matching key situations, and we're going to focus on that mutual commitment to implement increased activity, and that activity starts with these meetings that we're going to be looking at today. And then really the commitment that you're making looks like meeting at least once a week, okay, to advance through the Power Team Action Grid. We want you to be getting together at least once a week with your bragging buddy, and then ultimately that'll turn into a Power Team meeting, okay? So the meeting number 1, the first meeting that you're going to have with your bragging buddy, the goals for that meeting are to do the 10 key question interview exchange, and I'll do a very step-by-step on that in just a moment. We want to make sure that your bragging buddy understands what your differentiated value is and be able to repeat it. We want you to be able to describe your target market so they can recognize it, and we want you to implement the first 2 levels of systematic visibility. Okay, so here we go. Meeting number 1 agenda. All right, now at this point, you've selected your bragging buddy, you've gone through your 10 key question worksheet for yourself, they've done the same, and you're ready to have your first meeting. So I want you to be prepared with a few blank 10 key question worksheets to take notes. A few because I want you to have one for yourself, and I want you to have an extra just in case the person that you're sitting down with forgot theirs. All right. Now it's very, very important that you follow the step-by-step process where the first person starts verbally answering question number 1, and the second person takes notes on the blank 10 key question worksheet. It's critical that you take notes. It will help you retain the information, and it also locks in the person who's talking. It elevates the level of communication going on, and it's very, very important. So you're going to bring 2 blank 10 key question worksheets to take notes. The second person follows, verbally answering question number 1 as the first person now is taking notes. If you do have a situation where it's groups of 3, simply include the third person in the rotation. No more than 3 people, preferably 2. Okay? When complete, the 2 or 3 members then review the first 2 levels of systematic visibility to form a strategy and implement an action plan proactively systematically begin creating referrals for each other. So the first 2 bullet points on the agenda have to do with the 10 key questions. Let's get that done. Let's interview each other, let's take notes, and let's really try to understand the other person as a person so we can give compelling testimonials. Now we get to the third agenda item, and we're talking about reviewing transactional visibility with the business card organizer and systematic situational visibility to recognize opportunity and ask trigger questions. I want you to talk about that with your bragging buddy. How's that look to you? Can you do that? Do you have challenges with it? Do you have a location? Okay, if you're on here on the webinar today and you have a location like the florist where people walk in and there's business changing hands, make a note of that, okay, about your location, because we can leverage the location to create some systematic visibility, transactional. So as your customers and clients are coming in, they can see the network, and you can start creating referrals passively, if you will, by making that visible. Okay. So number 4, to wrap up the meeting, I want you to agree on what strategies you're going to use, and then begin to implement, and then confirm the appointment date for your second meeting. Okay. So you're going to commit to what you're doing, and then ultimately you're going to be meeting and accounting for how often you use the techniques. It's not just enough to talk about them, say that's a great idea, and by golly, I'll use that when I can. That's not going to get it done. What we want you to do is do both of those, but then say, and I'm going to try to use this every day. I really do think, as you hired me to be your consultant, that you need to be asking at least one trigger question a day every day. What's your biggest challenge at the moment? What's the next big event coming up for you? Or very easy to talk to people in conversation and ask the question. If you can do it multiple times a day and drill down into a referral, you're going to create a lot of referrals. So at least once a day, twice a day for asking trigger questions. And then number 5 is really reiterating the first 2 levels of systematic visibility and making that commitment to implement one or both of these. So I want you to come out of there with very clear expectations of what's expected of you and what you expect from your bragging buddy. Okay? So that completes that webinar. I'm going to open it up for questions, or please unmute yourself. We can have a little conversation here. Should your bragging buddy be a referral partner type person? Yes, you want your first bragging buddy to share your key situation, and they need to be somebody who's going to make a commitment to implement these strategies. That's who your bragging buddy should be. Okay. Okay, let's see. How much time do you set aside for the agenda? The first meeting should be less than 60 minutes. Okay. When you're doing your interview exchange, that should be 1 minute per answer. So if it's 10 questions per person and it was perfectly timed, it would be 10 minutes. Figure 15 minutes per person, just to give a little leeway, if you will, and that'll take a half hour. And then basically all we're really doing other than that during that first meeting is to talk about systematic visibility. And so it should be less than an hour. Block out an hour, give you a little time for open networking at the start and the end, but pretty simple. So 60 minutes or less. Let's turn now to page 15. So now we're going to get into the connector to creator worksheet and the agenda for meeting number 2. So here we have the connector to creator worksheet. And so let's bounce around a little bit and take a look at some of the resources that we have. And I'll call your attention to the workbook, the Money on the Table workbook, and I'll just randomly go to a page and we'll see what we come up with here. View, rotate view clockwise. So go ahead and open up your workbook. To the back, you have the connector to creator directory, and I just want you to see how this is set up. I'm on page 114, 114 and 115. So if you open this up to that particular page, you'll see at the top where I go through a little bit of a description on a personal trainer, give a little advice on how to position yourself if you're giving referrals for a personal trainer. And then on page 115 at the bottom of the spiral, you see a connector to creator worksheet. Okay, and so we're going to be going over a blank worksheet here in a moment and help you start filling out your connector to creator. But what I want you to do is understand how the back of the workbook is set up for all 6 of the contact spheres, and then you can find your own contact sphere, and perhaps your business categories included. I've got 24 specific examples of connector to creator worksheets showing you for that business category how they can be relevant to all 6 of the key situations. And then as we break down what this worksheet's all about, what are the Golden Goose referral sources, how to brag about this business category, giving compelling testimonials, and then what are the audio and visual cues to listen and look for. So I'm showing you this now so that you can use this as a cheat sheet. Okay, you can flip through the pages for your contact sphere and help guide your own information. I don't want you to reinvent the wheel. I want you to make use of the resources that we have available. So I just thought I would take a moment and get you to flip to the back of your workbook so you can really start putting some of the pieces together. Okay? Any questions on that, let me know. But now I'm going to jump into a quick breakdown of the connector to creator worksheet. You can find these on the moneyonthetablebook.com website. I'll show you that in a moment at the end of our webinar today on how to get in there. But it's the same thing you've seen before, which is the Power Team Certified Training Support tab, and then it's password protected. The ID is trainers, all lowercase, and the password is 2012. And you'll find this version of the worksheet there. But I'll get into that again in a moment so you won't miss that. Quickly reviewing the connector to creator worksheet, the idea is that you'd fill this out for yourself, but then you'd have a blank for your bragging buddy, and then you can start completing this for your bragging buddy at the second meeting to help you really retain what their focus is, and it'll also sharpen your focus for your own business. Upper left-hand corner, basically contact information, summary information about your networking partner. Here we see the 6 key situations in the upper right-hand corner. This is just a thought-provoking portion where you'll basically look at your I'm Relevant worksheet and you'll mark the key situations that are best for you, and then you'll translate whatever top 3 boxes are checked there across the top. What are your top 3 key situations? And then these custom keys we'll talk about in detail as we get a little deeper into the training and we find businesses that are a little more specific in their target market. We come up with custom keys. So what I want you to do is list your top key situations from left to right, and then we're going to really start looking at the other sources of your business. Here you can just see a reminder graphic of the 6 key situations. The I'm Relevant worksheet is where you reviewed your own business and identified for yourself what key situations you're working with. And then I want you to start thinking about who are the Golden Goose referral sources that are going to drive these key situations for me. How can people brag about me? This is something that as you were completing your 10 key questions, that's what your bragging buddies are going to repeat. Okay? The 10 key questions is your opportunity to put words in the mouth of your networking partner. And so the connector to creator worksheet is an advanced level cheat sheet that you can copy some of the different phrases for the different key situations and business categories that might just really reflect well on you and your business. And so we have a couple of boxes here where we talk about you as a person and what the recommendations are from people that you've worked with, and then what are the visual and audio cues that you'll find on the connector to creators in the directory. So the idea here is that your first homework item between now and next week, okay, many of you completed your 10 key questions. Some of you didn't, okay. I guess I'm ready for my tough love talk, all right. I think I got 8 to 10 key question worksheets, and that's awesome. That's maybe half the group or so. just under half. Those of you who didn't complete the 10 key questions, this is the time for you and I to really check in with each other and be clear on what the expectations are. Your expectation is that you're going to make money with the Power Team Certified program. And you're right, you will. I guarantee that you will. But the only way that you're going to get the results and enjoy the benefits is to do the work. So if you're in the 50% or so of the group that did not yet complete the 10 key questions, I urge you to do so. Get it to me as soon as possible. I know that we all have things going on in our life. Times are very busy, and we're all distracted with an array of different situations. But the bottom line is that I don't want you to lose momentum. I want you to gain momentum by creating referrals, and the only way that's going to happen is to do some of the work early now that's going to leverage you over time, okay? So I still love you if you didn't complete the 10 key question worksheet, but I just want to be real with you that if you can't passively go through this part of the process and expect results, okay? So that's my tough love segment for this week. Now, the same thing is true with the Connector to Creator worksheet. I don't expect you to complete all 6 situations for your business. 1, 2, maybe 3, okay? And you can get this to me, and I'm going to guarantee you, my friends, that if you can just do some of these basic things early, and I get you into some good habits with these early levels of systematic visibility, you're going to be creating more referrals than you have been previously. And if we can work together, get the rest of the group going, my gosh, you're going to be amazed at the results that you get. So this is the this is the Connector to Creator worksheet, and I'd like some feedback now. Can you make a commitment to get this to me? Type it in. Does it seem like too much work? Am I being unrealistic? Let me know. Okay? Go ahead and type something in or unmute yourself. Let's talk about this a little bit and see if we can get it going. Somebody's saying that they'll get it done. This is doable. Looks good. Okay? More comments. I'll get this done. Good. Okay. You know what? I'm going to take you at your word. I can't wait to see the results that I get. We're going to refine this for you as we get into activity, and you're going to be making more money. Very, very good. So that's the Connector to Creator worksheet. Again, use the directory at the back of the worksheet to make this easier for yourself. So now let's get into the second meeting, okay? This is where things are going to start to get exciting. What I want you to understand is that the first meeting, we're interviewing each other. We're getting to know each other with the 10 key questions. I don't want you to combine these 2 meetings, and I'm on page 16 in your workbook now. Page 16 in your workbook. I do not want you to combine these 2 meetings. I want you to separate them. I want you and your bragging buddy to have time to reflect on what you learned. And not only what you learned about the other person, but what you learned about yourself as you were articulating your message. Because the more often you think about this and the more often you go through the 10 key questions and use them, the more refined you're going to be on having your answers prepared. The more compelling you'll be with your own material as well as your networking partner. Okay? So at this point, you're going to accelerate the momentum that you created in the first meeting, and we're going to start getting into the systematic visibility and the Connector to Creator worksheet. So let's take a look at where we start, which is the Connector to Creator worksheet, and then systematic visibility. I'm on bootcamp meeting number 2 agenda on page 16. So we begin with each bragging buddy bringing 2 or 3 copies of their already completed Connector to Creator worksheet. Okay? Be prepared by bringing the material with you, and then the bragging buddies review each section of each other's Connector to Creator worksheet. You're going to look at those for commonality. Did you guys come up with the same thing? Are you giving each other ideas on what you can do to expand your horizons a little bit? Okay. The goal of working on this together is so that you can be better at describing each other's differentiated value, describing audio and visual cues that your power team can recognize to, to identify prospects. So don't forget about the audio and visual cue piece, the look and listen for on the Connector to Creator worksheet. It's very important stuff. So specifically, Golden Goose referral sources, as you look at those, what does that mean to you? Okay, we look at the examples in the Connector to Creator directory. What do these Golden Goose referral sources mean to you? These are people that you want on your power team, right? You want them on your power team. And so this will help begin to inform your invitation and your attraction process that we'll be talking about in the next 2 weeks. Once we get you into motion with your bragging buddy and creating referrals for each other, we're going to start expanding your power team. We're going to talk about inviting people who are currently in the chapter to network with, but also to grow the group by inviting visitors. Okay, and we're going to use the Golden Goose referral source open categories to kind of inform where we go with that. Okay, so again, easy to remember phrases is what we want to come away with from the Connector to Creator, and really start thinking about easy to recognize audio and visual cues. Okay, we've got tons of them in the directory. Now we get down to the end of meeting number 2. This is how we wrap up meeting number 2 with 3 bullet points. Okay, we want you to talk about new referrals created, and that can be for each other or for your BNI chapter in general. What did you do since last we met? What are some new referrals that were created? And then specifically now I want you to dial it in with your bragging buddy on item B. Have you been implementing systematic visibility or not? Okay, this is where it really becomes very, very clear cut on if you're implementing Power Team Certified or not. And it's, are you using systematic visibility on your own or not? And are you holding your bragging buddy accountable to do the same or not? That's it, my friends. You want to know the secret to making money? I just gave it to you. All right, it's item B, implementing the first 2 levels of systematic visibility. The goal here is for you to talk about it. Share experiences. If you have a networking partner that needs to be encouraged, given examples, coached, that's your job then at that point, or turn them over to me and let's get that done. But let's inspire each other through our own actions. Let's lead by example. And then wrap it up with a little bit of perspective. This is basically completing your boot camp right here. Item C, how today's meeting will help you recognize more referral opportunities and give more compelling testimonials. Let's pump each other up here, okay? Let's make sure that we know what we're doing, what our commitment is, and what our goal is to help each other make more money and give more compelling testimonials. So this is the completion of boot camp, and from here we're going to continue meeting with your bragging buddies until you've completed all the elements of the research and preparation section of the Power Team Action Grid. So I'll show you that next week. We're going to get into the ongoing bragging buddy agenda, the meeting that you have with your bragging buddy after you've completed these first 2 meetings. But the idea here is that if you need additional time to complete your Connector to Creator worksheet and stretch out meeting number 2 maybe into a 3rd session just to make sure you've got it covered, make sure that you do work your way through the Connector to Creator so that you know the Golden Goose referral sources, how to brag about each other, and what audio and visual cues you can recognize. Okay, so that completes the material in webinar number 7. And I'm going to open it up for some feedback, and then I'm going to show you some resources on the home page, and we might sneak out of here a couple minutes early. Let's see. I can do this, should be easy after doing the other worksheets. I missed last week's webinar. I will catch up with the worksheets. Audio's been good, makes sense, looks good. I love this idea. Okay, who else? Sonia says makes sense, especially if we follow the agenda. That's exactly the point. That's all I'm asking you to do. I'm trying to make it very simple and step by step. Follow the outlines that I've shown you. You don't need to reinvent the wheel or improvise. I guarantee you that if you follow the system, you're going to get results. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Really like the bragging buddy concept. I'm still concerned about finding a great buddy. Now, let's make a point here. You're not married to your bragging buddy, okay? The bragging buddy is not a lifetime commitment or anything even close. I anticipate that you'll start with a bragging buddy, and in many cases you might find that for different reasons there's somebody else who would be a better bragging buddy. And so you can mix this up. You can drop people if they're not performing. In a week, we're going to talk about something called the proactive guidance meeting, where we talk to current members 90 days before their membership renewal comes up and use that renewal process as a motivating factor for them to start implementing systematic visibility or not. If they don't, then we open up their category for competition. And we'll talk about that more in a week or two. But for now, if your bragging buddy isn't performing, if they're not implementing systematic visibility for you, it's time to switch bragging buddies. So don't worry about, picking somebody and regretting it because you're stuck with them. That's not the case. This is going to be fluid as you go forward, okay? So someone's saying, makes sense. I like where this is going. I tried to start a power team a year and a half ago and it flopped. Looking for it to work this time. I guarantee you it'll work. If you just don't go too far too fast, follow the system, begin creating referrals for one bragging buddy, show them how to create referrals for you. Then those two bragging buddies join another pair. Now you've got a power team of 4 people that are already rocking and rolling. It's fun stuff. Okay, everything is completable. It's a progress system. Any help on helping a bragging buddy accountable? Yeah, let's focus on that piece right now, is holding the bragging buddy accountable. Let's talk about holding your bragging buddy accountable. All right, on the Power Team Certified Training Support tab, okay, we're on the moneyonthetablebook.com website, the Training Support tab, click that. It's password protected, as I mentioned earlier. The ID is trainer, all lowercase, and the password is 2012. So that's ID trainer, password 2012. On that page, in the right column where we have the central time zone groups, I'm going to show you a few things. In a moment, we're going to talk about the bragging buddy tally sheet, which is an accountability piece. Also, you'll find the 10 key questions, the connector to creator worksheet. But right now, we're going to look at the bragging buddy tally sheet. Okay, we click on that, and what we find is an interactive PDF. It's an interactive PDF that you're going to use to not only track the early stages with your bragging buddy, but also your BNI chapter. The goal here is that you're going to be so excited because you're making more money through Power Team Certified that you're going to talk to the other people in your group, get them excited, and they're going to start making money with the program as well. And that's how we start building the Power Team in your chapter. To facilitate that, someone in your group, those of you that have 5 people from a chapter on today's webinar, 2 or 3, I want you to talk about who might be the Power Team leader right now to kind of take responsibility for completing the tally sheet for your chapter. And next week we're going to talk about using your education coordinator slot or a 10-minute slot to get everybody in the group to complete the I'm Relevant worksheet. Even if they're not involved with Power Team Certified, we want you to know where they think they're relevant, because you're going to have people in your chapter that are relevant to your #1 key situation that you might not have thought about. And so we're going to start getting everybody involved as we go forward. But for right now, what I want you to do, if you're on this webinar today, I want you to download this tally sheet and type in your key situation. So Tara, are you there? Okay. So let's just have a little fun with this and work through together. So for you, your #1 key situation would be what? Business builder. Okay. And so you're bragging buddy #1. And I don't know if you've picked out a bragging buddy yet or not, but when you do, you'd put their name here. Pretty simple. And then M1 is, have I completed the first meeting or not? M2, have I completed the second meeting or not? Then this is where you begin to make your bragging buddy accountable. I've implemented systematic visibility for you. Have you implemented it for me? I've implemented level 2 for you. Have you implemented it for me? Next week, we're going to talk about levels 3 and 4, which are also techniques you can use right away to create referrals for each other. But at this point, as you come to the webinar next week, this is your second piece of your homework, is I'd like for you to send me your bragging buddy tally sheet, okay? Who's your bragging buddy, and have you completed those meetings? Yeah, what I'd like to see for everyone is at least complete meeting number 1 by next week. At least identify your bragging, at a minimum, identify a bragging buddy. If you have a challenge because they're not yet started with Power Team Certified, we'll work our way through this as a work in progress as we go. But the idea is, in a perfect world, you would have identified your bragging buddy and at least had meeting number 1 if possible. And then over here, when you do create a referral, you check that box. And when you bring in a golden goose, that box gets filled. So, all right, like I said, next week we're going to cover levels 3 and 4, which will give you more tools in your toolbox. And even if that's where your Power Team Certified training stopped, you would have so much firepower for creating referrals that there's really no reason why you can't double or triple your referrals. I've had some really good success. I'm doing a Friday group as well, folks out of Central Alabama and West Texas. And there's an individual there, one particular guy who is my Power Team Certified poster child right now. The guy is amazing. His name is Chuck Bertram. He's a website guy, and he was referring 3 times a week. His average at the BNI chapter was 3 referrals a week. And after just 2 weeks, in fact, both weeks of the first 2 weeks, his referral activity jumped to 10. And so he's averaged 10 referrals a week the past couple of weeks. And we covered systematic visibility 3 and 4 on Friday. And I know he's already exceeded that for this week. So the results are there. We've got lots of examples. And next week when we get together, I want to hear your success stories, because at this point, many of you should be meeting with your bragging buddy and implementing systematic visibility to create referrals. So I'm looking for success stories. Okay. It looks like somebody else typed in a question. My number 1 key situation is business builder. None of the other Power Team Certified members in my chapter are business builders. Like to know who else on the training is a business builder so we can work as bragging buddies on this. Is this possible? And that's coming from Sonia. My recommendation is to limit the bragging buddies that you pick to either people in your BNI chapter or people who you're doing business with but are not yet in BNI. I think both of those are fine. I wouldn't recommend that you start building a bragging buddy relationship with someone who's in a different BNI chapter. I think as you start going forward from bragging buddies into a power team, that will become counterproductive as you start getting into conflicting loyalties and focus. So if you don't have folks in your chapter who are actively involved with Power Team Certified right now that share your key situation, first option is identify the people who do share the business builder key situation and talk to them about what we're doing, that you'd like to have them involved, and we can get them their materials and they can get started. If not, take a look at some people who are not currently in your BNI chapter, and let's talk to them about Power Team Certified, how they can follow a step-by-step system. Let's get them started, and then we'll likely, unless there's a scheduling conflict, get them into your BNI chapter. So let's use this as a funnel for building your BNI group, and I'd recommend that rather than creating a bragging buddy relationship with somebody who's already in BNI but in a different chapter. So hopefully that makes sense. I believe that wraps up what I wanted to show everybody today. Let's kind of summarize what our expectation is between now and next week. And then if anyone wants to stick around for additional questions or to look at your 10 key question worksheet, we'll take some extra time, but nothing wrong with finishing up a little early. So your homework between now and next week is to complete your connector to creator worksheet. email that to me and your Bragging Buddy tally sheet. And this way I can see who's doing what, and we can make sure that we're moving forward as a group. Thank you very much for participating. I want to hear your success stories next week, and I encourage you to get started immediately with systematic visibility to begin creating referrals.